Okay, so how do you do this? How do you build a school or sell a school to parents and kids where you can form this type of relationship? Well, number one, the type of student you're getting matters a lot. Again, if you're just trying to get any student, well, any student could go to any school. You want to find the right student who thinks your school is the right school for him or her. Okay, so you've got to do the extra work on finding the right type of student. Now, there's probably a variety of ways you could do this. One thing that I always like to compare it to is the author and psychologist Adam Grant. In his book, I think it was The Originals, he talked about how this one guy discovered that by going through applications for whatever company he was working for, he was noticing that the people who applied for positions at that company, who ended up being the best employees, they stayed the longest, they were the most productive, they were the superstars of that company in the long term, were people who, when they filled out their application, did so on a different web browser than all the other applicants. Now, it shouldn't matter. Like whatever web browser you use, it's all the same form you're filling out. So when you apply, who cares what web browser you're using? He discovered though that there was a correlation, and he sort of surmised that, well, maybe the fact that these types of people sought out a different type of web browser that was a little more efficient, a little more productive, was more helpful in their however they were using it, that made them just care about things a little bit more. And sure enough, those people ended up being the better employees. Why? Because in their own lives, they tended to care about things a little bit more. So that translated to, I care about my job a little bit more, which means the company improved a little bit more. And so even though it was sort of a freakish observation that this guy came across, the psychology behind it ended up being very interesting, that if you find the right type of person, their benefit to your company, or in this case, your school, could be like triple what any other employee could be. All right. So if you're just going around going, we'll take any employee, well, you're going to end up getting a lot of bad employees who leave, and then you got to replace them, which costs money, or they don't really do good work. And so, you got to have systems in place to try to improve their work, and that costs money. Like, you're spending money on these people who shouldn't have been hired at your company in the first place. Whereas if you have a better filtering system, then you get the right type of people who make your company better in the long term. So the same thing could happen at a school. You need to find students that specifically want what you're offering, not just, oh, I'm interested in being a psychology major, so I need to find a university that has a psychology major. Well, yeah, every school has a psychology major. So why do you want to go to that school? Your school needs to be very specific to that type of student's wants or needs. Okay? And it could be something academic, it could be something social, it could be something spiritual, it could be something geographical, it could be a million reasons why that student wants to go to that specific school. Because if they really want that one specific school, well, it's much harder to leave that school, because after all, you chose it for a very specific reason. So, again, it's just like choosing your spouse. I wanted a very specific type of spouse. And so I looked around until I found that specific type. And now I don't need to worry about spouses anymore, because I have the perfect one for me. Just like students should be looking for the perfect school for them, and the school should be looking for the perfect type of student for them. That's what would be a better option. In Rory Sutherland's book, Alchemy, he talks about this principle, the mathematical principle where 8 times 1 equals 1 times 8. Like they go back and forth. They're equal to each other. That's not the case when you're dealing with humans, though. Okay, so I just picked the number 8 because there's 8 semesters usually in a student's school career. One student who attends school for 8 semesters is very different than 8 students who attend your school for 1 semester. You might think, well, the math is the same because 8 semesters worth of tuition is all the same amount, regardless of how many kids are there. No. 8 students who only pay for one semester of tuition and then leave causes a giant ripple effect through your school that you don't understand if all you're looking at is the numbers. Whereas one student who pays for the same 8 semesters of schooling causes usually a positive ripple effect throughout the whole school. Well, why? 8 transient students who just show up and then leave causes some social things because the community isn't as cohesive because people are always leaving every semester. It's harder to make friends. Again, the community kind of is crumbling a bit. And then you got to spend extra money and time replacing those 8 students every single semester, which costs the school money because now you got to go recruit more and you do more marketing and all this stuff. Like, that's expensive. You'd be better off finding the one right kid who stays all 4 years because he loves it there. It costs you less money. Well, I mean, it's going to cost you a little more because you're spending more time finding the right kid, but it's going to be less than replacing 8 kids. So 1 times 8 does not equal 8 times 1 when it comes to human beings, and especially when it comes to students. You're dealing with 19-year-old kids here. You want to create an environment at a university that's stable, that creates a good sense of community. All the things that article was talking about, the engagement stuff, that all happens when you find the right type of student.